What's up, guys? It is Dr. Seth, and today we are talking about neck packing. Because Cam posted these squats inside of Team Activated, and although one could argue that he is doing some sort of packing his neck, this is not what we are going for. And the first thing you might be wondering is, Seth, what the hell is the point of packing your neck and pulling your head backwards during a squat? Well, dear viewer, the neck pack is a strategy that's going to allow us to incorporate our entire spine into our bracing strategy. But before we get into the why and how of packing your neck, we got to address the claims made here, talking about how neck packing is not a good strategy. And there are two great big problems with using this study to try to draw conclusions on whether or not you should be packing your neck during a squat. The first problem is that this study is not even looking at neck packing, it is looking at your head position and gaze during a squat, where they were comparing looking down with neutral with looking up. But here's the thing, I can pack my neck, then look down, look neutral, and still look up without losing my neck pack. The second problem is dude drawing those conclusions is equating neck packing with looking down and cervical flexion. Because, yeah, I would agree with them. You don't want a flexed cervical spine during your squat, because that flexed cervical spine isn't going to be helping with the overall co-contraction picture that we need to make a rock solid brace. Now, I can understand why someone might conflate the ideas of neck packing with global cervical flexion, because half of the neck pack equation is pulling your chin down. But the more important part of the neck pack equation that lets the chin down half actually contribute to creating more tension is pulling your head backwards into cervical retraction. And if we look at what is happening mechanically when we are creating that cervical retraction, we begin to realize that the exact head angle doesn't matter as much for the neck pack as does the tension that we're creating by pulling the chin down. Because when we pull the head backwards into cervical retraction, no matter what angle the head is at, we're still going to be extending from C7 all the way to about C2. And that head angle stuff is going to be happening mostly between C1 and the skull, which has a freaking huge amount of flexion and extension freedom independent of what the rest of the C-spine is doing. So why do we want to pull the chin down to help with our head pack anyways? Why can't we just pull back into retraction, look up, and absolutely max out on cervical extension? Well, try this experiment for me. First thing you're going to do is just pull your head backwards as far as you can. From there, look up and tell me whether or not you feel less tension or more tension. Next, keep that head back, tilt your chin down, and tell me how much more tension do you feel in not just your neck, but everywhere else in your body as well. The whole point of packing your neck is to add to your overall brace tension.
But Seth, everything you've talked about so far has been about the cervical spine. How is that going to help out with my brace?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Cooper, because spinal motion does not happen independently. And when we are creating cervical extension through cervical retraction, we're also going to be creating extension in the upper thoracic spine, which is going to apply force pulling the rib cage upwards.
But Seth, I thought we wanted to try to pull the ribcage down for a good squat brace.
Well, exactly, Cooper, because having that force on the backside of our body pulling the rib cage up is going to give us more for our abs to contract against. And with bracing being a game of co-contraction, being able to create more tension on the backside will let us create more tension on the front side, which lets us create more tension on the backside, which lets us create more tension on the front side over and over again in a giant loop that just lets us put more tension in the system as a whole. And the more tension that we can create on all sides of our brace, the more rigid our torso will be, and the better we're going to be able to transfer force from our legs up to the barbell. So that brings us back to Cam's squat and what we're going to do to fix it so that his neck pack is working for him rather than against him. Because if you look at what he's doing, he's just packing back and extending into nothingness because he's not giving himself any tension on the front side to pack back against. So if he gave himself that ribs down tension with his abs first, then packed back and extended against that tension, I guarantee his squat would look and feel a hell of a lot more solid. And if you need coaching like this or want a better understanding of how to coach the power lifts, hit that link below and join Team Activated today. Plus, if you do it in the month of November, we are giving out a free bottle of Zone Original Smelling Salts to every new member.